Funnily enough, Pokemon Sword and Shield have broken a ton of new ground for the mainline Pokemon franchise. Before this game, DLC was unthinkable. They'd never do something like that. At least that's what a fair share of Pokemon fans believed before this series' first ever expansion pass was announced during last week's Pokemon Direct. Today, I want to discuss my thoughts on that very expansion pass, and more importantly than that, I want to discuss what impact this expansion will have on the franchise's future. Let's talk about it. Hey, you ever wanted to be a part of a community to play and talk about Nintendo games? Maybe you want a Smash training buddy or someone to help you complete your Pokedex. Well, I have the perfect solution for you. Join our Discord. It's linked in the description of this video and in the pinned comment. I'm sure the current members will welcome you with open arms. On to the video. I think the Isle of Armor and Crown Tundra themes say more than enough about where Game Freak's mindset is at when it comes to the Pokemon games moving forward. Growth and exploration perfectly sum up what I feel is and should continue to be the core of Pokemon, so seeing them emphasize these themes with this new content fills me with confidence that Game Freak has a plan that no one saw coming. Before the reveal of this DLC, what I liked most about Sword and Shield is that it felt a lot more focused than past Pokemon games, and when it comes to the plot, it made more sense. I love that the game started you as the classic rookie trainer and remained consistent with that theme until you showed that you were worthy of more than that. I believe now, with this DLC, we will get the story content that is meant to challenge a trainer on the level of a champion that saved their region after having proven they were strong enough to do so. This time, unlike past games, being the playable character wasn't a good enough prerequisite. I'm excited to learn what more may be revealed about the Galar region, the Galar League, the gyms, the gym leaders that facilitate it, and how all these new characters will play into all of that. I'm curious to see if anything that happens in this content will bring about character development and characters we already know in a meaningful way. Like, I currently detest Leon. Even after being humbled by his initial defeat in the Pokemon League Champion Cup and the multiple defeats that followed that initial loss by way of the Battle Tower, will we see him turn over a new leaf similar to the way that Hop grew as the main story and later post-game progressed? Or will he come into this new content still bragging about how great he thinks he is, or was? I know he's supposed to be this stand-in for the fandom that clings to the past with his red fanboyism on full display, so maybe that will remain intact and they'll just add to it with Leaf and Blue superfans to complete the trifecta. We are getting Venusaur and Blastoise Gigantamax forms, so I'm curious to see if they work that into the story in some way. And we could potentially be seeing new content pertaining to the Galar region starter, since we'll be able to get the G-Max form of our partner Pokemon. I'm curious to know if this will mean our current starter will be given the ability to Gigantamax, or if we'll be given a separate Pokemon with that ability. I personally hope for the former because I already have my starter fully trained, so unless this theoretical new starter comes part and parcel with a hidden ability, I'd much rather just continue to use the one I already have. Also, I hope there's some sort of straightforward way to obtain the G-Max forms of the other two starters. And on top of that, I'd also like to know if they'll spend more time on Legends in this game as well. We're getting a few completely new ones that are interesting in a few ways that we know already, like Kubfu being the first legendary with a branching evolution of sorts by way of Urshifu's strike styles. Or what about the Galarian forms of existing legends? How does Game Freak plan to explore the lore behind those? And can we expect to see more of them? To be fair, the ones they revealed so far definitely could suggest even more unrevealed legendaries could very well join them in the DLC. Will there be Galarian Lugia and Ho-Oh to complete the legendary bird dynamic? Will there be another Reggie in addition to a Galarian Regigigas? And will there be a story to accompany this akin to the Delta episode, for instance? Or will this expansion pass just focus on the trainer facing issues like the base game did? Speaking of the base game though, will we learn more about Eternatus? As of right now, the lore behind Zacian and Zamazenta is decently established, but Eternatus kind of just came out of nowhere. I'd imagine that if anything, we'll see elaboration on that Pokemon's backstory through Pokemon's other mediums. But even seeing some environmental storytelling about Eternatus would be welcome in my book. And how will the introduction of the completely new legendaries factor into all of the Galar legends. We know that Kubfu and Urshifu will play a major role in the Isle of Armor DLC, as what it evolves into is dependent on decisions we as trainers make in that part of the expansion. And for Crown Tundra, Calyrex once ruled over the Galar region, so I'd imagine that if there is story elements, that Pokemon will play a key role in the story of that DLC, and will most likely be one of the legendaries catchable via the new dens that can be explored underground. That is something I hope becomes a precedent moving forward. Having gameplay features and/or mechanics play into the introduction of new legendary Pokemon seems like an excellent way to keep the game fresh, both in the designs of those Pokemon and in how we catch and train them in the future releases. Apart from story, I feel the DLC is an investment in the same way I feel the original game was. Bringing more legacy Pokemon into the HD era of Pokemon has proven to be a bottleneck for Game Freak, and I for one can accept that. But I'm happy that they did plan to iterate on that foundation with 200 Pokemon that are new to the Galar region to bring the new total to 600. In that cast of Pokemon, we have a few new threads to explore. First, the returning Pokemon. I feel like the Pokemon Company handled this, and oddly to the chagrin of Dexit weirdos, the fairest way possible. After all, it's clear that it took additional work to bring these Pokemon into the games, but they still not only allow people that don't own the expansion pass for their game trade Pokemon with people that do, as well as transfer from past Pokemon games that have those Pokemon, they also allow those same people that don't own this content to join in on the new raids. That said, I am curious to see what effect the reintroduction of old Pokemon as well as all of the new ones will have on the competitive balance. I'd hope that if anything it adds to the diversity, but I fear it's evenly as possible that it has the potential to do what happened in the past and just replace Pokemon in the current meta rather than add to them. We're not really far enough into the 8th generation to get to the point where most of the competitive scene has gravitated to the same exact team, so maybe this new wrinkle will prolong the window of time where people continue to experiment. That will keep things interesting for me at least. Most importantly though, I'm curious to see how this new playable content will shape up on a gameplay level. Will the Isle of Armor introduce more content akin to the Battle Tower? I for one hope we get some sort of multi-battle content. Will the new items like the Experience Charm make it even easier to get battle ready Pokemon? I think the best case scenario there is for it to be possible to do one run of the Pokemon League to level a Pokemon from 1 to 100 in the same way G-Max Meowth makes it possible to earn enough money to fully EV train a Pokemon in one Pokemon League run. Also, there's no specific sign of this happening so far, but I'd love for this expansion to reintroduce an easier way to clear EVs from Pokemon, because as of right now, your only course of action is to either breed a new one or give it a bunch of EV erasing berries, which I might add is a really bad solution since there's no good way to quantify how many EVs are invested and in what stats they're invested. Anything that could potentially make getting into competitive battling even more streamlined is welcome in my book. On the note of the Crown Tundra, I'm dying to know how these dens will differ from the current raid battles. Will they function in a similar way to how caves work? That could allow for the escape rope to be more useful at least. And could we maybe be incentivized in some way to take distinct roles like healers, tanks, or pure offense in these new raids? I'd hope so, because this game already feels like a Monster Hunter game to me, and making it even more like that would be pretty interesting. As far as the future is concerned, I think the expansion pass is the key to getting at the true root of Game Freak's problem. Contrary to the belief of the hate mob, Game Freak's fatal flaw isn't that they're lazy. Their biggest issue is that they're a cog in a major machine that they're not even the biggest part of. They need to continue to release frequent content to keep the rest of the operation moving, so despite how much fans may want it, they can't disappear and go heads down on a major new release in the way a Breath of the Wild team can. This way though, with expansion passes, they can work to flesh out content in plain sight, as well as restructuring as they move along in the future. Sure, they can also help this problem by staffing up, but that's not an overnight fix, as evidenced by Sword and Shield, given the fact that they doubled their staff for these games and people were still upset. Like any other operation, in order to efficiently grow, you need to hire and work those new team members into the team by making product. That doesn't happen overnight. What I can see Game Freak doing here is releasing this DLC to fill the content quota for 2020, release the Sinnoh region remakes in 2021, possible expansion passes for those remakes in 2022, and then a Generation 9 release in 2023. Hell, they could even prolong that a bit further if they can convince Pokemon Company to let them take a pause between the remakes and Gen 9. All in all, I believe the advent of DLC in Pokemon games will solve more problems than the obvious, being that they end the $60 third version future. I think Game Freak wanted to forge a path to making major improvements to the Pokemon games without affecting the Pokemon Company's bottom line in the process. It says a lot that they honestly could have made a $60 third version that would have sold to millions, but instead opted to meet everyone in the middle. But those are my thoughts. What did you think about the reveal of Pokemon Sword and Shield's expansion pass? Are you excited to play through the new content? Does the introduction to DLC in the Pokemon franchise give you a similar hope to mine that future games will benefit from the new model? Or do you not like this new direction? Let me know all of that and more in the comments down below. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, I hope you'd consider sharing it with a friend that you believe may like it as well. Linking people to our videos and channel does more than you may think, regardless of the amount of followers or friends you may have, so be sure to hit that share button if you like what we do here. Also, more importantly, make sure to subscribe and ring the bell for more videos like this every Tuesday and Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Okay, that's it for me. See you next week.